How's it going, everybody? So today I've got someone from the Styrene Syndicate on. He actually does a lot of Fusion 360, 3D printing, but he's a car guy. Does a lot of car models, and we're going to learn a little bit about Fusion. I'm sure we're going to talk about model cars a little bit too, but for the most part, here is Dominic. How's it going, man?
Hello, Josh. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
So we all call you Dominic, but what's your actual real name?
My birth name is Dominic Gerace, G-E-R. I actually go by the nickname Mickey with a lot of people. Very long story, dates back to great-grandfather. So, but yeah, most of the time I go by Dominic.
Okay. Because I'll have to change and edit the title of this so it'll say Dominic so it'll match. Because I put whatever name you use for your Facebook page, and that's the one I went with.
Yeah, that says Mickey Gerace on it. You know, it is a lot of people in high school and school in general knew me as both, and it kind of got confusing after a while. So I just kind of stuck with Mickey for the most part, but officially it's Dominic.
So, like I was saying in the intro, you do a lot of model cars. How long have you been in the hobby?
Pretty much since I was like around 5 years old. My father in the early 70s was still building model cars. He was building in the 60s. And I always was hanging around him trying to see what he was doing and stuff like that. And he started letting me join in with him.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I pretty much started around that time.
So what was your first kit that you did? Do you know?
The very first kit of my very own was a monogram Pinto that my aunt had given me for Christmas. It was kind of a customized Pinto. I've been looking for that kit to replace it, and I've seen it a couple times on eBay. It was a little expensive, and I haven't gone for it yet. But I do remember the first kits I bought on my own, saving my allowance, in 1978, the Silver Anniversary Corvette, and then the pace car after that.
Oh, that's cool. Are you a big vet guy?
My father's got one.
Are you a big vet guy?
Yeah, my father's got a 69. He got it in 73. And I've been a fan ever since.
They're cool cars, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They're cool cars.
He still has it, so he wants me to take it over eventually.
So out of the cars behind you, what's your favorite?
That would be the Superbird.
The Superbird. Now, why is that?
It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I always liked them since I was a kid, even though my father made fun of me. My very first car when I started driving was a 70 Monte Carlo. And so I have an extreme passion for those too. As you'll see, a lot of stuff that I've done in 3D is geared towards the Monte Carlo. But if I could have any car in the world, it would be the green Superbird.
Well, I mean, that's cool. They're cool cars.
Yeah.
Hard to find, but they're cool cars.
Oh, I would take a clone any day. I mean, wouldn't have to worry about it. You know, it's not expensive. I'll take a clone. That's fine.
All right. So most of this conversation is going to be dealing with 3D printing, but I wanted to at least touch on some of the model car stuff that you have done. And you do a lot of good work. I mean, and you're not just strictly one type of car either, which is kind of cool.
No, I was mostly muscle car for many years until I got a job building model cars around 99, 2000 for CMA Models. And he did a lot of high-end exotics, and he kind of got me into the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis and, you know, Aston Martin and stuff like that. And I started developing an appreciation for those cars too.
No, yeah, that's really cool. So what kind of 3D printer do you have?
I have the Photon. Mike from NY3D Creations kind of recommended it. They went on sale for a period of time, and I grabbed two of them over a period of 6 months. And when I finally got the bugs worked out of it, it was a very, a lot of trial and error. And so when I got the bugs worked out, it's like, oh, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. It's just the turnaround for prototyping is so fast now. I mean, I used to scratch build a lot. I'm into resin casting, so I would scratch build my own bodies, resin cast them, and but that takes weeks, months. Prototyping the wheels and the spindles, the drop spindles on this Monte Carlo that's next to me would have taken a few weeks at the very least. Where I did these in 2 or 3 days. I put the first one on, didn't like the height of it, made another one, printed out the next day. And all I had to do was go into the drawing and, excuse me, and just change a couple things and up and running.
So we'll deal with the 3D fusion, but I want to talk about the printer part of it. How are you setting up the bed so the parts set print out better?
Well, my
and
main issue.
I just opened up the Chittle box or whatever it is last night and was playing around with it and trying to figure out how to orient some of like the figures to where they print out better. And I just like the supports, it doesn't make sense to me whatsoever.
Okay. Well, the program I use, Mike had told me about Chaitu Box. I downloaded it. I got on it, but I never used it. I've been using the one that comes with Photon. It comes with 2 different programs. One is like an area where you can situate the part and then put it on its supports. And as you're putting supports on, there's a black line that comes up on any low spot. So if there's any low spot that is away from the main part of the piece, you have to catch that with a support at the same time. So you have to keep an eye out for little things that come up in other areas and support them, because if they're in limbo without a support, it'll never print because it has to start from the bottom and work its way up. So if this arm is hanging off over here and you got supports here, but the fingers are hanging down, well, you got to support these fingers because it's going to start printing here first and work its way up. And that's something you have to really keep an eye out on.
Oh, okay.
So just you watch, and you can. I just learned recently. I mean, I've been doing these supports now for a couple of months. I just recently learned that you can turn in the program completely upside down, and when you put a support on, I was getting like a green bed that it's on, and it was blocking my view from angles. But if you turn it completely looking at the bottom, it hazes those out, and you can still see the part again. So you may want to see if the Chaitu box has a similar setup.
Yeah, like I said, I just turned it on. Well, actually, I got it to where it would load into my computer correctly. Then I was able to play around with it for like 20 minutes after the 3 hours of figuring out.
Every step of it is a learning process. I stumbled over everything. It's like, and then all of a sudden it hits and you're like, all right, write that down.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely a challenge, to say the least, but it's a fun challenge. I really get to where I enjoy that for the most part.
Yeah. I haven't been physically building in a few months. Last night, Friday night, was the first night I actually picked up something and was working on a physical model again in months.
What are you working on?
I had this Monte Carlo sitting next to me, and another smaller scale Monte for the taillights. I was detailing the taillights. The ones that come in the kit are very nondescript. They're missing a lot of details. And so when I drew mine, it has got the chrome trim on it now. And so I can go in and foil the chrome trim and then detail out around the edges of it black. And it sits in there beautifully because on the kit, it was too close to the outer surface and they really should be inset. Mm-hmm. And I kept scaling them down. I print them out, scale them down a little more until I got them to sit where they really needed to sit. And it looks beautiful.
No, I mean, that's really, really cool. And really, really cool. So what parts are you just doing interior stuff with the 3D printing stuff, or are you just doing whatever is convenient?
Right now, What I'm doing is mostly geometrical shape things. I haven't gotten into organic shapes. If like the hubcaps and the wheel backs and stuff like that are all very circles, triangles, that kind of stuff. What I would eventually like to do on this car is the headlight extensions. They're actually on. This is a 70 Monte Carlo, but they're rectangular around the headlight, and they should be round on a 70. So I want to draw that whole body piece. It's called the fender extension, and print that out. And it's a very organic shape. It's got a lot of, pieces where it come up around the headlight. It's like kind of like pushes out, and then it sinks in and comes back out. And I've been really trying to poke around at that kind of work now.
No, that's really cool. And we'll get into this in a second, but I think you're using what? Fusion 360, right?
Yes.
So we'll deep dive into that app. Pretty good. But other than the taillights, what is the most impressive thing you've printed out so far?
It'd have to be the tire.
The tire?
Yeah, the tire I did. The tire that's on this car I have a 70 Monte Carlo, and it came with the original tires, and they were all garbage. They were just, dry rotted. And I kept the best one though, just for future. I don't know, maybe use it as a spare, put a tube in it just for show. Just for shows or something like that. So I had the actual piece to work off of to draw this tire. And if you want, I could bring it up on.
Oh yeah. We'll definitely do that.
You want to bring it up now?
Yeah, sure. We can jump right into it. Did you get it to pop up on the screen? There you go.
All right, so this is basically the tire. But I did a whole tire drop, but I didn't. So what you're seeing in the blue is the start of the drawing, and it's actually here. You see, this is where I started. And if you come back over here, like all these little indents, I can't zoom in on this program here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the white walls are. There's twin stripe white walls.
Oh, okay.
You start here at the bead, then you have the side wall coming up to the tread surface. And you only have to draw basically this cut section of it. And then there's a mirror image, so you can mirror this side to the other side. And then you can do a rotate function, which creates this solid without it didn't have these treads in yet. But you had the full tire, basically. And then if you wanted to, you can see the tire here. So this is the two halves of the tire. And then when you want to put the treads in, there's a cut function. And these little chevrons here, there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Draw with those 3 chevrons, cut them into the tire at a certain depth, and then there's a rotate feature up here in this menu.
Yeah.
And it adds as you go. First, it adds 3 of them, and they're like, one on each third of the tire. And you just keep adding them, and I think there was 90 of them here.
Wow.
To get around the tire. It was a lot, and it threw up a menu that said I was in danger of over constraining some function, and so you got to be a little bit careful of how many things you do in one shot. Maybe if I'd done one tread at the time, done this one, then this one, because it was like 90 times 3. So,
no, dude, that's crazy. And the cool part is you drew that whole tire.
Yeah. And it printed out really nice. It's on. If I got 4 of them on this car.
Now show the taillight, because I think the taillights are the most impressive thing you've done.
Okay, the taillight. This is a 70 Monte Carlo taillight, and these little squares that are on here, I only had to draw one of them, And then the same function that got me the treads around the tire in a circular pattern, these were in a flat pattern. And I think it was 25 this way and 5 across or something like that.
Oh wow!
And when you get them onto once they're drawn here, there's a function that puts them on the surface, that whatever surface you pick, and there was something like 5,000 lines involved in this. It was something crazy,
Really?
but it didn't lose its mind, didn't lock up on me, and it transferred over. And then each one of them, I did about 25 at a time. Is what they started out as little blocks, and then I curved the tops with a function called the fillet, which is right up here under tools, and it rounds one corner. So I rounded all 4 corners, and that gives you like a little dome shape, and it looks like a reflector.
No, that's really cool, dude. Really, really cool. So what's going to be the next thing you do?
This is the 71. Sorry, this has an extra chrome piece, and this is like non-existent on the model cars also. The next part, a friend of mine wants me to draw another tire. He wants a Pro Track tire. It's a racing tire from the 70s, and he gave me some pictures of one that's on eBay. The 2 tires on eBay are like $2,500. They're really rare, soft compound racing tires. And he does a lot of resin casting. There's reliable resins in Pennsylvania, and he wants me to do that tire so he can cast it up for some of his stuff, the stuff that he sells. I've done some work for him on the side of a little scratch building here and there.
No, I mean it's really cool what you're doing with that. And oh, here we go. So how do you think, since you're doing a bunch of it, how do you think 3D printing has changed modeling?
I'd say it opened up a lot of as far as if you want to do like fine detailing. When I did those taillights, I didn't even know how much that would translate into the actual print. And a couple of people even said, I might be wasting my time, that you wouldn't get that kind of detail. And I was pleasantly surprised when it did translate. I mean, if I like to, I'm getting older. I'm 53 now, and my vision isn't where it used to be. My comfort zone was working on stuff right here. But now, without glasses, I can't be here. It's got to be out here. And so that aspect of the super detailing is kind of going away from me, because eventually I'm just not going to be able to do it. I have like 2 or 3 projects that, like, one is a 25th scale 70 Monte Carlo. It's going to be a replica of my car. And it's going to have every wire, every thing you can imagine. So those taillights were a big part of it. The hubcaps that I did were a big part of that. And without the 3D printing, I don't think I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have had the taillights that I wanted. There's just no way. The chrome trim around that was just too fine to scratch build. So, but on the other aspect of that, it opens up a door to a lot of things where you can download stuff, figures and parts. Even car parts. I mean, this Shapeways has got a ton of car parts on there. And if it's you're looking for, like, some sort of modern racing engine, you can find that on there. So it opens up 3D printing. Is if you can print in your own home, you buy the file for a few bucks, and you have it. I don't think it's not going to make an impact on the model car companies as far as that goes, because you still need your starting point, something to work from. Because unless you got a big 3D printer, I couldn't print a car body in mine. Maybe a piece at a time.
One fender at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy how 3D printing, just let alone the last 2 years, but it's been what, 5 or 6?
Yeah. Well, when I was in my other apartment, and that's about 5 years ago, I bought this little cube printer, and it was very crude. I mean, when I got it and started working with it, you could see that it was one of those filament type printers.
Yeah.
And it was just, I mean, it looked like layers of material. You could see it. I'm looking at this going, there's no way I could print anything for any model car part and with this thing. There was no way. And within 5 years, now I have 2 of these printers that are printing out at detail levels I couldn't imagine back then. So it's come a long way in the past couple of years, and $250 for a printer. I mean, I've got an Alps printer because I print my own decals, and that thing cost me like almost $1,000 used. It was 15, almost 20 years old when I got it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see going into this.
Just the price of printers in the last year seems like they just keep dropping the price every year. Even the ones, I watch a lot of Uncle Jesse's videos.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of the bigger resin stuff now for the videos he's been doing lately, and them things are like $3,000. But he's printing out, like keyboard stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's absolutely crazy what, and the lower end stuff just seems to be getting the better technology, and it just keeps getting better and better. It's absolutely amazing what we can do with 3D printers now.
Yeah, well, it benefits from the technology increase. As the technology gets better with certain things, even the lower end is going to benefit from it.
No, I mean that's very, very true. So, how are you? You do many shows at all?
I do there's a model car show in April, I think. It's either the end of March or beginning of April. The NNL East has it's at the Parsippany in New Jersey, and I usually go to that one. Been going there since early '90s. In 1989, a group of us from Suffolk Scale Model Club on Long Island split off from them, and we just the car guys went and made our own club. It's the Long Island Auto Replica Society, Liars. And I've been a founding member. I was a founding member, and I've been a member ever since. So since 1989, we're over 30 years now. And we have our own show in Freeport, Long Island, every November, usually around Veterans Day. And I do that show. I do the photography for that show, and we try and get our stuff into magazines and whatever. I don't generally build for my own show because I just feel funny walking up there with a Liars t-shirt to collect an award. So I usually just put it on the display table and be happy with that. But those are the only 2 shows I really go to.
No, that's really cool. There's only like a couple here, but I want to go to like where like Fred Henry is in Atlanta. There's a pretty good like yearly model show down there I'd like to go to. There's the one in Phoenix. So I'd love to go to nationals, but it's just I'm not. Vegas and me are not a good mix,
Yeah.
I either go in and be broke the first day, or I come out, with a new car or something. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
So Fred asked, Creality Ender Pro printer, do you have one?
No, I don't have one of those. I'm not even sure if that's a filament style or a resin based. But I'm not. even though I'm not familiar with the filament based, and I had a terrible experience with my first one, I hear they're very good. If I were Fred, I would go onto the internet and get in some rooms and ask people about them and research it. I had the fortunate circumstance where I had Mike as a friend from NY3D Creations, and he helped me tremendously with getting going. And like I said, he recommended the two printers that I'm using.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. But here's what I will tell Fred is that the Creality Ender Pro is one of the better filament printers out there. Like my CR10 does awesome, but it won't get the good detail like the Ender will.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, I didn't even know if that was a filament printer or resin based.
Yeah.
I get that's my problem. One of my problems is I get like pigeonholed into one thing, and I'll work with that till death. It's like I get this photon now, and I'm like, that's all I see. I got blinders on it, and that's all I see right now. So I haven't looked into anything else like that.
All right, so I'm going to go into the next topic. Fred, talk to Mike. He's in the chat. He's basically who we both go to for. All right.
Okay.
So when are we going to get you to do a figure?
I've got a lot of figures from Mike, and I just got the Wonder Woman figure, and I would like to do that one. A couple of guys at work and I were fans of that Linda Carter Wonder Woman, and I like this one, so I might get going on that one soon. I also printed out Freddie Mercury. It's a little smaller than but the scale doesn't really matter to me as far as that goes. I was able to print it out on my printer without too many issues. And I would like to do that one too, even if I just got it together and primed it. But I was talking with Brian the other night, and he was telling me how to fill gaps and stuff like that using some of the resin. And he turned me on to a UV light, like a little flashlight kind of handheld one, to help in curing some after printing fills and stuff like that.
No, I mean it's really cool how all that's kind of changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Brian got that from the YouTube channel Uncle Jesse, and it's just crazy what just I think they use baking soda, baking flour, something like that. It's one, and you just mix it up with the resin, and it's like glue.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? It's absolutely crazy what you can do.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but to me, in my mind, it sounds a little akin to spackling. And I would be a little leery of not overdoing it. I wouldn't want to overdo it and have to sand out stuff. Because on figures, it's not easy to sand without losing details. And Mike had told me to mix this putty that he was using with water. It's an acrylic based, and put it in a syringe and go into little seams and stuff like that and fill them slowly. Do a layer, do another layer until you get it to right where you want. And then if you do overfill a little bit, it washes over water. You just take a wet rag and you can take off as you need it. I want to stay away from sanding when it gets to with the figures. That's my only fear is I don't want to end up with weird spots on it.
Well, yeah, but I mean the resin stuff, if you prep it right, it comes out pretty smooth. I mean, you still got to use the filler primer, but it ain't like the filament where you got lines everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's not the lines that I'm worried about. It's more like where an arm comes together with the shoulder, let's say, and if you, let's say it has like a fishnet pattern on the material, I don't want to have to sand that area where that little gap is,
Mm-hmm.
and end up, marring that fishnet pattern. That's where I'm talking about losing details. I know they do print great as far as the lines go. You can hardly see them, and like you said, the filler primer takes care of that without any problems.
So at some point you are going to do a figure then.
Oh yeah.
So at some point Friday you're gonna put your figure up there next to Gil's and be like, ha ha ha.
Well, Gil had a figure build off a while back, and I started working on a Star Wars figure. I think her name was Rey.
Okay.
And I wanted to replace the lightsaber with like some sort of clear plastic rod, so I can run a light to the base of it and have it illuminate. And I did fill all the seams. I got her all together. I even had the wires run through the body right up to the hand. And I stumbled over the head part of it because I didn't want to put the head on yet. And then I got to talking about different paints. I've never painted a figure before, and I don't want it to look like a cartoon. So I don't want to just paint it one solid color, tan, for skin tone. I want to be able to shade it a little bit. I can use an airbrush pretty well. I've never used it like that though. I've always just, I grab the model and I flood paint on it. This is a little tedious. You need a little more control.
Yeah, I'm. If everything works right with this photon that I just got, I'm gonna be doing like Batgirl, Supergirl out of the Xanax stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's kind of hard to explain, but like you're supposed to like hollow out the figures and all kinds of stuff. But like, have you ever like crimped apart trying to do any of that stuff?
Have you ever what to it?
When you're like holding the parts when you're painting them, have you ever pushed too hard and break it?
No.
Or they're pretty durable?
Yeah, they're pretty durable. As far as the resin, that stuff, it actually reminds me of glass in a way. And it may be that I'm doing things a little bit out of order. Like the taillights, I leave on their supports. It just makes them easier to handle while I'm detailing them. And when you UV cure them, and then you go to snip those parts off the supports, if you don't do it the right way, you could break it. I've broken one of the first taillights that I tried to trim off the supports. I just went in close to the taillight and trimmed it, and it broke that section off from the rest of the taillight. So I had to go to the bottom of the support, snip off little supports at the very bottom. So now I end up with a taillight with little supports hanging down, and now you can snip them off one at a time without flexing the taillight itself.
Oh, okay.
So, and it broke like glass. I mean, it just, you look at it and the broken piece is like shiny, like a piece of broken glass. It's a little fragile in that respect, but it's durable too at the same time. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, Mike's, I think, poking fun at us. all you have to do is press print. Come on, Mike. We're not that new.
I've tried pressing print a million times before I got it different.
No, I mean, and the software and stuff, I wish it was just that easy. I would have already had, Darth Vader sitting on my desk today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I said, the photon programs that came with it are pretty user friendly, I should say.
I'm really hoping so. And then if not, Mike's going to be getting Facebook messages like crazy the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I felt bad because I was asking him a lot of questions. I had an issue with my print head, trying to level the print head. And I followed the instructions that came with it. I followed the Jesse on YouTube. I tried 8 ways to Sunday to level this print head. And I got to a point where it would print the forward half of the print, but the back half wouldn't print at all. And I finally figured out that as the print head came down, without the vat in there with the resin on it, it was fine. I would level it, everything would work fine. As soon as I put the vat in there, the arm of the print head was hitting that. And I noticed as it would come down, it would torque and the back of it would pop up. So now it's not the right distance from the flat, the bottom of it. I end up grinding a notch into the back of the vat to allow the print head to come down and stay down where it's supposed to be. And now every print after that has been successful.
So how full do you get the vat then?
I don't do anything that really requires a lot of resin. There's kind of like a natural line in the vat where it comes straight up and then it angles out. I usually just fill it up to where it angles, right at that line there. And once I start the print and the printer head goes all the way down, if it's going to be a lot of parts in this particular print, I'll add more resin while it's down there. And I'll fill it until just before it gets to the bolts that hold the print head in place, because I don't want to get in there and have to clean that out. But the Freddie Mercury was the only real long print that I did. It was a 17-hour print. And everything else, the maximum, I think these tires were about 6 hours.
Really? 6 hours? Wow.
Yeah, I did them standing up. They're 18 scale, and I did them standing up, so they're quite tall. Once they're on their supports, plus the height of the tire, it was pretty tall.
I would not have thought that was 6 hours. I would have thought at least double that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. It was within a work day. I have my printer at work, and I'll go in first thing in the morning and I'll set up a print, especially if it's going to be a long one, and it's just, I'll let it run through the day while I'm at work.
So what do you do for work?
I work at a power station on Long Island for National Grid.
Oh, okay. So you got a lot of sitting around watching control panels then, huh?
Yeah, every other week I do that, and the weeks in between I'm out doing like maintenance and PMing and stuff like that. I used to work in the actual powerhouse itself up until last year, just before COVID hit. I went to the wastewater treatment plant. So any water that comes from the plant comes down here, we treat it, and we send it back to the harbor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how does a detailed job like that help you with your modeling?
It gave me a lot of freedom, actually. I could set up my resin casting station there. A lot of that stuff is kind of messy, and you can spill it on the floor or something like that. I'm in an apartment, so I don't want to mess up the floor here and have to replace the floor before I leave. So it's helped me in that respect. I've always worked with a lot of small instrumentation at work, and I've actually taken used parts to incorporate into model car parts, springs and cables and whatnot. You're going to throw them out, so we rebuild an actuator, and I end up with a whole bunch of parts for my cars.
Right? Yeah. I that would be cool. Like, I know when I moved into the office that I'm at, I've got a lot more freedom, especially being on the night shift. Like, it's like the other night I was in the hangout, I was in the hangout while I was at work, programming parts. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, now there's a lot of downtime. I try not to, because people talk, and I don't want to have people saying, oh, Dominic's sitting there building model cars. I've had that happen. When I first went to this, when I was in the power plant itself, I went to a different group. I went to the controls group. And one of the first jobs they gave me was building a power station. A weather station. And part of that was like the weather vane, which had a fin on it. It looked like an airplane. So one of the guys comes in and turns around and walks right back out. He went to the supervisor and said I was sitting there building model cars at 10:30 in the morning, which is after break time. So one of the guys comes down and he says, hey, be careful. They're saying you're building model car. I'm not working on the models. I'm working. If he went to my foreman and asked him what I was supposed to be doing, he would have told him. But so people talk, and I've always been leery of that. I only really work on stuff during coffee break and lunch break, and before and after work if I have to. As I always get to work 2 hours early, just so I can have the freedom to go set up a print or work on my model cars, do some resin casting when I was doing a lot of that. There's certain freedoms, yeah, but I can't take advantage of it. But work, all my jobs have always come into modeling cars in a certain way. I used to fix cash registers from 88 into the 90s. And I took apart a print head, a dot matrix print head, and the little pieces the parts that make the dots on the printer receipt look like antennas for a car. I got dozens of them. Every time I'd rebuilt a print head, I'd end up with 7 of these things. I got a drawer full of them, and I put them on all the 25th scale cars.
Oh, nice.
And it's perfect. It's got a magnetic base, so it's a little wider, and it's got a little shoulder, so it looks like the base of the antenna with the aerial. It's perfect.
No, that's really cool. It's crazy when you look at other stuff around your house. You're like, hey, I know what that can be used for.
Yeah. Well, anybody in this hobby, I'm sure you do the same thing. You go anywhere and you see things that are like, I could use that. I have an idea for that to work with in the model cars or whatever you're building, be it figures, airplanes. It's out there. You just have to. You can go to the dollar store and find all kinds of goodies.
Yeah, dollar store is a bad place for me sometimes. I usually have to go in for like one thing, and yeah.
Well, my daughter was questioning the amount of makeup that I have now.
Whoa.
Where'd you get all that makeup from? The dollar store. Why?
Well,
I'm going to be building figures eventually.
Because of James, right? They have this cosmetic wedges. What's the dollar store?
Okay.
It's like, and then I bring that home and my wife's like, what is that for? It's like, you don't worry about it. Not for you.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Or cleaning out the airbrush. They have those. They're like a little bitty pick, but it's got a brush at the end of it for like teeth. Mm-hmm. That's usually what I use the dollar store for.
Okay.
But anyway, it's been about 45 minutes or so. Do you have any questions for me?
How long have you been building?
I probably built when I was younger, probably 9 to 13 or so, and then I got really into sports. Mm-hmm. And kind of dropped the hobby away. And then I don't know if you know everything that happened with my son and wife when he was born, but so that happened. Probably a year after that, I lost my job, and I needed something. I went from like having all kinds of stuff to do to now I'm looking for work 3 or 4 hours a day, and right. So I needed something to kind of like de-stress me a little bit. So I went into modeling, and he's 8. So I've been doing it again. I've been doing it again for like 7 years now.
Okay.
So, and, in that meantime, I've done basically all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. I've gotten 2 3D printers now. I probably have a stash of probably, I don't know, maybe of car kits and stuff. I probably have just about 40, 50 kits. Not
Okay.
a lot, not a lot, but it's, you know, enough to keep me out of trouble. And then the Warhammer stuff, let's just, you know, not bring that up because I've got way too much of it now. So, you know, I've been back into it for a little while.
Okay.
I've been on YouTube for, I'll say 4 or 5 years, I think.
Okay.
So it's crazy to think about it. I've had a YouTube channel for 5, 6 years, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I was looking at the stuff behind you, and I figured you do a little bit of everything, really.
Well, so I like a lot of everything. Like I'm a big helicopter guy. I've loved helicopters since I was a kid. One of these days, I'm gonna actually book a flight somewhere in a helicopter. One day. Yeah, Fred, whatever. You plead the fifth on the stash, whatever.
I know the wall behind me. There's a crawl space back there. There's got to be a rough estimate, at least 1,000 kits back there.
Whoa.
You know, I've got 3 cases of 70 Monte Carlos in 25th scale, at least 3 cases, because I bought 3 cases flat out when they discontinued this one in '98, and they've reissued it since then, and I still buy them. I see them on sale at Hobby Lobby, and I can't resist. And I buy another one. It's like, all right, 40% off.
No, you know, it's absolutely crazy. Once you start going down the stash rabbit hole. I mean, so far, like the next thing I'm going to be doing is the B-52 bomber.
Oh, okay.
Like, I have the big one of the bigger ones.
Nice. I saw Boyd do that one, and he hung it on the wall, vertical.
Oh, on the wall or off the wall?
Sitting like hanging on the wall, like pointing straight up.
Yeah,
my plan is hang a plane. I never thought of hanging a plane like that.
Yeah,
that is a big model.
I actually, out in my garage, it's gonna sit kind of like my, you know, the garage door hanger or the thing that brings the garage door in and out. It's actually gonna sit right behind that.
Okay.
So that's my plan anyway. We'll see what happens once I get into it, because I've got once I get it up, because I want to light it too, because I got all those Christmas lights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do like a red light, a blue light, and a like a clear light for like lighting up the inside of it. And I want to try to do that, but I think that's going to be the project I really get involved in it.
Yeah. That sounds like a good project.
Hopefully, you know, if everything. Like,
did you see the taillights I was working on the other night?
Yeah. No, dude, that by far has been the coolest thing. One of the coolest things you've done so far.
This is an 18th scale. It's a metal one, and the suspension has been lowered front and back. The front suspension was a 3 millimeter spindle drop, and then the fender skirts are scratch built just out of sheet plastic. I don't know if you can see those. How well? Right there.
Oh my gosh. And
then the taillights. And that chrome trim around the taillights is what I was really wanting to do. And that's all foil. I didn't try painting that on with the wallet. Didn't think I could do that.
So good, dude.
So, and there's my hubcaps.
Now, is that the translucent resin? Red, it's like see-through kind of.
Yeah. Yes. Mike had mentioned something about translucent resin earlier, and the red is translucent. It needs a little red paint behind it though, and I still haven't done it to those because it's so thin that you lose some of that red aspect because you lose that. It becomes a little more opaque. So I'll just go in and touch those up because this is just a mock-up right now. It's still got to be painted. Yeah, I have black resin. So all my suspension parts get done in black. I don't have to paint them. I just put them together. I plan on selling these on eBay.
Oh.
This die cast only comes, and since they came out with it 20 years ago, it's always been either the 70 or 71 SS454 Monte Carlo with rally wheels, and that's it. No skirts, no hubcaps, nothing like that. So I want to do one like the mainstream. They call it the mainstreamer cars, and put it out there on eBay and see what it does. If it sells good, I'll make another one.
There you go.
So, yeah. So the less painting I have to do, if I get print stuff in black resin, I do want to get the clear resin though. A couple of the backup lights I want to do in clear resin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it'll. It's fun. Yeah, I get lost in it. I enjoy this stuff. Getting on there and doing it. You see me every Friday out there on the 3D drawing. And it's just a learning process, learning how to use the stuff in that menu. I haven't gone for a course yet. I was looking up some sort of CAD courses online just to get a better starting point. I haven't found anything yet.
See, if there's a difference between CAD and Fusion 360 though, because that's what I'm doing at work is AutoCAD. Mm-hmm. And Fusion is nowhere near the same. Probably same. They talk together, but it is two completely different programs.
Yeah. So I've heard that the tools and stuff are very similar.
Yeah.
So I need to learn how to use the tools a little better. Like there's a B-spline function on here. The only reason I know how to use that is because when I was doing decal drawing, I had a Micrographics 2000, I think it was, a program from '99, and I still use it today for drawing. And I've got an old HP that's got to be 15 years old laptop, and it's dedicated just for decals. And a lot of those drawing features are in this Fusion feature. So it's like I'm kind of crossing one to the other to do certain things. So I figured maybe some sort of CAD background would help me in learning some of these tools a little bit.
I mean, all I'll say is that they're two completely different programs. Like some of the CAD stuff you can draw on 3D in CAD. Mm-hmm. The stuff I'm working with at work, they don't give us that feature because I'd be doing something other than making metal parts. But yeah, I mean, it's all the commands are like what I was using 364 was making like desk pen holders. Mm-hmm. That stuff works awesome for that.
Yeah.
But it's still, you have to go in and know what the commands do. And it seems like, how do I say this? There's not right or wrong answer for that. Mm-hmm. It's just, you just got to get the hang of it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy once you kind of learn it, and that's been some of the stress at work trying to learn how to do AutoCAD because I knew how to run Fusion 360 for a little bit, and then I lost the what do you call it the trademark thing or whatever.
Oh, the free there was a trial period.
Yeah. And then I stopped using it. So
I did the same thing. I had a 30-day trial and I was drawing a hubcap and then all of a sudden it disappeared. And I was like, I got frustrated. And that was the beginning of last year. And then it took me till I got the printer that I decided, all right, now I need to start drawing some stuff again. And I was like, you know what? I saw a sale on Fusion 360 and I was like, I'm going to bite the bullet and go for it.
And that even opens up more tools too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, Dominic. Thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been really fun getting into a little bit of the depth of, the programs and stuff you use to make 3D parts. I'm going to do my exit and I'll talk to you in a couple minutes, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, everybody, that was Dominic. I will edit the name on the thing, but this is the announcement for next week. It is Easter, and I'm not doing a show next week. My 8-year-old is going to be doing Easter egg hunting, and I'm not going to have time to do this. So I'm taking a week off. Hopefully everybody understands. Family comes first. Big believer in that. And it's also my birthday. My birthday is also on Easter, so I may not be sober enough to do this interview next week. So, all right. Well, hopefully everybody learned something like I did, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Later. Bye.